In this video, I'm going to talk about solving problems using Pythagoras' theorem. Here is one example. A rectangle has dimensions 12 centimeters by 10 centimeters as shown. So look, you have a rectangle that's 12 centimeters long, 10 centimeters wide. So it's 12 by 10. Calculate the length of its diagonal, correct to one decimal place. So diagonal is the key word here. Now, you need to know what the word diagonal means to be able to answer this question. And a diagonal is a line that goes from this corner over to this corner, or from this corner over to this corner. So the key to this question is you need to draw in the diagonal first. There's the diagonal. And let's call the length of the diagonal that we're looking for, let's call it x. Now the sum becomes find the length of x. Now at the moment you see a rectangle, but what I want you guys to be able to do is spot right angle triangles when you see them. So if I was to just shade in this triangle here, there's a triangle. And furthermore, is this triangle right angled? Yes, it is. But what's my reason for saying that it is? Well, I know that this angle must be 90 degrees. Now, it didn't say that in the question. How do I know it has to be 90 degrees? Well, all the corners of a rectangle or a square have 90-degree angles in them. That's one of the properties of a rectangle. So what I suggest students do is when you have a problem like this, draw in the diagonal, you can shade it in if you wish, and then redraw the triangle on its own. You don't have to do this, but I think it really, really helps. So I'm going to redraw the triangle on its own. This is 12 centimeters long this way, this is 10 centimeters high this way, and this is x. And now suddenly this question has been transformed from a kind of a difficult question to a very easy question. And this is an easy question because it's just a straightforward Pythagoras' theorem question. A reminder of what we did the last day, when you use Pythagoras' theorem, you have to label your sides. So because there's the right angle, this would be the hypotenuse. And then these guys would be O and A. I'm going to call this O and this A. And Pythagoras' theorem says that h squared is equal to O squared plus A squared. So x squared will be 10 squared plus 12 squared. And we can use a calculator. It's 100 plus 144, so x squared will be 244. And then the very last thing we have to do is we need to find out what x is. Now x will be the square root of 244, and we can do that in the calculator. The square root of 244 is 2 root 61, but we want our answer as decimals, so press the SD button, which means surge to decimal. And it's 15.62. Now they want to correct to one decimal place, so that's going to be 15.6. So the answer we are looking for is 15.6, and it's centimeters. Try and remember to put the units in your answer because we were given centimeters. So there is the first example of using Pythagoras' theorem to solve a problem. Here is a second example. In this second example, example 2, we're asked to calculate the values of x and y, and they want any decimals to 1 dp, one decimal place. Now here's a shape. We got 1, 2, 3, 4-sided shape here with a line in the middle. You can see there's a right angle here and a right angle here. The key to this question is to recognize that this big shape can be cut into two smaller shapes. Here's one shape, a triangle. And then we have another shape here, which is another triangle. So what I suggest you do is separate the picture out into two triangles. There's one triangle, and here's the other one. And what we do on each triangle separately is we mark in all the information that we have. So for example, in this one, which is the one I shaded in, we know the height of it's 5, so I'm going to write 5. We know the base of it's 4. And this slanty bit is called x. And this is a right angle. Okay, and over on this one, this here is x, this here is y, and this here is 9. Now our job is to find out what x and y are. So we look at the two triangles and ask ourselves, which triangle should we begin with? How we decide this is we ask ourselves, which triangle has more information? Well, over here, we only have a 9 and we have 2 mystery letters. Over here, we have 2 numbers and only 1 mystery letter. So we're going to start with this one because this triangle has more information. We have two sides and one mystery. Over here we have two mysteries and only one information. So start with this. Here's our plan. So to start with this, I'm going to label this triangle. Here's my right angle. So this will be the hypotenuse here, and I'm going to call this O and this A. And I'm going to use Pythagoras' theorem on this triangle. So we're going to have h squared equals O squared plus A squared. Remember, that's always true for right angle triangles. So that's going to be x squared equals 5 to be squared plus 4 to be squared. So x squared works out to be 41. And then x will be the square root of 41, which we can do on the calculator. So to clear my calculator here. Okay, so we got 5 plus 16, 41. We get the square root of 41 equals, and this is 6.4. 6.4 centimeters. So we found one of our answers. X is 6.4 centimeters. There's one of our answers. Now, whenever you have new information, we know what X is now. What I want you to get into the habit of doing is updating your pictures, refreshing all your pictures and marking in the new information. So what I mean by that is, in this picture, I'm going to put 6.4. On this one, I'm going to put 6.4. And in the main one, I'll put 6.4. And now you see we have a new clue. We now know the length of this is 6.4. We know this is 9. And now we've only got one mystery letter. So let's turn our attention to this guy. To do this guy, there's the right angle. So this is the hypotenuse. I'm going to call Y, O, and I'm going to call this guy A. So now we have h squared equals O squared plus A squared. So you got 9 squared equals Y squared plus 6.4 squared, like so. Now 9 squared is 81, and 6.4 squared, well, I'll have to do that on my calculator. So 6.4 squared is 40.96. Now, what we want to do next is get y squared on its own. So y squared I'm going to leave on the right, and when you bring the 40.96 over to the left, you're taking it away. So it's going to be 81 minus 40.96. And when you do that in the calculator, let's say 81 minus 40.96, you get 40.04. And then to get what y is, we just get the square root of that. So I'm going to get the square root of our answer, and I'm getting 6.3. So now we have our two answers. Our answers are x is 6.4 centimeters and y will be 6.3 centimeters. And that's the solution to that question. In the next video, I'll show one last example of this.